It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Thursday and do what Ron DeSantis' campaign would like to do, put Wednesday behind us. Gary, how are you?
Good. The official announcement, actually, he filed and then the commercial came out. So the commercial was actually the announcement.
Yeah.
That's when you first knew is that, okay. When he filed, but this was the commercial.
That's the first official thing we saw.
Right. And this is the commercial that he ran.
Our border is a disaster. Crime infests our cities. The federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
And it says DeSantis for president, then paid for by Ron DeSantis for president and all that. You and I, when we heard that he was going to be on Twitter Spaces, we just went, why? I guess the response was like, okay, a great lesson, because if you didn't know that there were technical problems like crazy.
For 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes. And it was...
the headlines during that 20 minutes were brutal.
Oh, yeah. The headlines just... Because when you actually listen to what they were talking about, it was all substance, but they made it as he is going to announce, but it actually was an interview is what it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think...
That's what they promoted it
right.
as.
I don't think Elon Musk is a great interviewer, but I think that, and this is really amazing for the things that DeSantis has done right, and you and I, because we talked about this briefly in our pre-show meeting, you never, when you announce...
give control to someone else.
Give control to
right. You don't turn that over. You don't share the spotlight with someone like Elon Musk in that moment. Now, you and I talked about it. I don't know how much. I can't remember if we mentioned it on the air yesterday. If you're walking into that, let's say he had a venue. The governor got a venue, right? And you're going to have all of your supporters there. You're going to make that announcement. But all of it's going to play out, and you agree to do everything on Twitter, but you're going to start in that way. Now, the problem is you don't want to shut out the media. You don't want to do an exclusive, because the exclusive then turns into, well, what we're seeing now, where the media is only writing about it instead of showing, your speech or whatever it is during that announcement time. They're writing about the fact that for 20 minutes it was just horrible.
Yeah, all you saw is DeSantis, a disaster, DeSantis, a disaster, DeSantis announcement, a disaster. You never allow, especially when you're announcing for president, anything. You never allow anybody to be there on stage with you, which in essence,
don't share that spotlight.
You don't share the spotlight
Casey
with
DeSantis
anybody.
Is the only other person that should have been on that stage, in that spotlight with you.
And so it now look, this is nobody's going to really remember this a month from now. I mean, but the headlines when you first announce should be, because I think how he should have run it is his announcement is maybe not a stadium, but you put him in an arena not with 1,000 people, but with 20,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And you pick one of the big arenas in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you use Florida State, their auditorium, whatever, their basketball auditorium. I've been in it before, actually, for concerts. I don't know how much it holds. I don't know. There might be a new one by now. I haven't been to Florida State in 40 years, so they might have built a new arena there. But and it's in Tallahassee, so you want it to be super big. Yeah. And you control every aspect of it, and you don't control every aspect of it, number one, in an interview, and then in an interview with somebody who actually is not an interviewer.
And somebody who already has their own spotlight in a big way right
exactly.
now. And somebody who has a spotlight where there is controversy. One of the things written about Tesla recently is the fact that their sales have declined. That everything for Elon Musk, he was the darling of the left up until, he came out for free speech and bought Twitter. Those are all good things. But you want to launch like nobody's heard of you. And you want to launch to your base and not bring in someone who has their own massive spotlight that, frankly, is bigger than yours. There's no reason to do that. You create your own spotlight. Because then the question is, well, did he think that clearly he did. Did you think there was going to be an advantage to sharing some of Elon Musk's spotlight? That's a dangerous game to get into. After the fact, along the way, if you think that it's an advantage to sit down with Elon Musk or to have Elon Musk interview you or whatever, then fine. Your announcement is yours. The entire nation, on the right, mainly, has been anticipating this announcement. There was one question to begin with: will Trump run again? Well, officially, we got that on November 15th. There's been a question, hey, you think DeSantis will run? That grew into, I think he's going to run. When is he going to announce? Everybody's watching. You already have the captive audience. Don't share that spotlight with somebody who has a bigger spotlight. And don't give them control
the technical aspects of
the entire technical aspect of it. I expected it to be a much bigger presentation, but I guess, that's just because of what we do. There was a reason that you and I during COVID insisted on coming in. We insisted during that time in working here because we wanted the reliability. We wanted the support of our production staff, but we wanted also the reliability of our network infrastructure to deliver our program to our audience during a time when it was crucial to get information to our audience, which these days is pretty much every minute of every day.
Yeah, and we also and we ended up being right because you and I talked about many radio broadcasts and then television broadcasts that people watched where people were doing, their weather reports and sports reports and news reports on, Zoom or whatever apps, and the audio quality was horrible. And and it was very noticeable, and we just and so when we started seeing that the first couple of weeks, we said, all right, we made the right decision. There's no way we're going to trust any technology except the technology that's been proven, especially when, we were entering something that is basically is something that happens once every 100 years or 200 years.
Yeah, you got to go through
like
generations and generations for it to happen again. And never happened in modern times when communication was, 24/7, everybody has a phone and they're being fed who knows what kind of information that a lot of people didn't feel like they could trust. They had no idea what was going on. And we wanted to be here in a reliable setting with a reliable delivery infrastructure of our message.
Yeah. It's not fatal, but when you look back at it, because you and I looked at each other yesterday and just went, what? Well, maybe there's something up his sleeve, and there was nothing. That's
why we didn't comment on it much yesterday's show. We didn't really, because we don't know. I mean, it could have, if it went off and then all of a sudden everybody was going, wow, that was unique. That was politically, that was the thing to do. That was a modern approach.
Well, we didn't know what the format. We didn't know what the format was going to be.
Yeah.
We just didn't know. But after seeing it, there's no way to look at it except to say it was an unmitigated disaster.
Well,
I mean, and the first thing out with your campaign that you've been meeting on for months of how to do it, is just, to me, if this is my campaign, somebody gets fired early.
Oh yeah. If they brought that idea to me and pushed it and said, this is going to be, this is what you do in modern times. This is how, you break the mold. This is how you reach out to an audience that may not be there with you, otherwise in a different setting. That person is likely gone. I don't know how you keep them.
And then Trump's response on Truth Social, which people are still trying to figure out. I'll just read it.
Yeah.
Here's what Trump wrote on Truth Social after the announcement that DeSantis was running.
Yeah.
Rob, my red button is bigger, better, stronger, and working. Then in parentheses, truth. Yours does not. And then in parentheses again, per my conversation with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, soon to become my friend. What the hell does that even mean? People are trying to figure out what the hell does that even mean. Rob he used that as a term for DeSantis back in March.
Yeah.
Sent out a press release also calling him Rob.
Yeah.
And the media at that point says, boy, he put that out and it was and didn't even correct the spelling beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's used it again, so is it nobody has any idea. The only thing I saw was, oh wow, the next announcement will be that Trump is in the hospital with a severe case of Biden-itis.
Yeah.
Because that just made you sat there looking and go, well, what the hell is that? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. And the responses were, what? And then his son tweeted it out.
Yeah.
With the response, yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I've no idea what's going on here. I mean,
I don't. Well, I thought to myself, okay, we're gonna find out later that both Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. had their accounts hacked.
I was thinking that, or Trump had the first drink in his life.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't, because it was just the most bizarre response you could imagine. But like I said, what DeSantis did, not fatal, but to lead off with this and to do, because that's why you and I yesterday just said, okay, we'll see how this works. I like the tried and true message that, ways of doing it, which is, he could have still done. You don't need Elon Musk asking questions. You can do an interview later on. That's an interview. That's not an announcement. Announcement is where you are in control entirely of the narrative and all the technical aspects of it. And you make it for DeSantis big, which means not 1,000 people, not 2,000 people, not in a small, but in a huge auditorium and people cheering wildly for you. So first impression is, wow, people really love this guy. Mm-hmm. It's big. This is the big thing. Mm-hmm. To do it this way was just mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. You and I talked about it during the pre-show meeting for yesterday's show. So Tuesday night, we came in and I said, look, if he's going to have the big rally in the moments before that, then fine. Then you do the interview, you sit down and do the interview, and, okay, fine. Because they were talking on Tuesday, they were saying interview. And I thought, interview? Elon Musk is not a member of the media.
No, technically he is now.
Well, he owns a platform.
He owns a media.
But he's not a journalist.
No, he's not.
That does interviews.
No.
Look, if you're a reporter for the BBC, I suggest you probably not go at Elon Musk because he's been known to destroy reporters when he's being interviewed. Mm-hmm. But that's not the same. And it doesn't get you anything. In fact, you end up in his spotlight because Elon Musk has a bigger spotlight. Don't share yours. You're basically building your new national spotlight.
Yep.
Ron DeSantis has been talked about in the national media, but this is very different. Everything changes the moment it becomes official. And there was a 20-minute delay. Wow.
866-90 Red Eye.
Logging miles during the hot summer months can put a serious strain on you and your truck's health. Did you know pollutants and allergens in the air outside can enter your cab through the HVAC system without you even cracking a window? That's why it's important to check those cabin air filters. Inhaling dirty and polluted air can cause distress if you suffer from allergies or a respiratory illness. Not to mention the distraction dirty cabin air filters can cause by blocking proper airflow to your AC system when you need it most. Breathe easy when the air in your cab is fresh. This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The reason I use mind-boggling, when talking about the decision that DeSantis made to announce this way is because he probably, from what we have seen over the last couple of years, is probably the most disciplined politician on messaging I've seen.
Yeah.
In a long, long time. I don't know, just off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone whose message is more disciplined than DeSantis, who owns his own messaging consistently, which is why when we heard this yesterday, we went, okay, are we missing something here? And, we weren't. We were right to, because that's what we were doing. We said, Really? We were questioning, why are you doing this? And if I would be in the meeting, I said, why are you doing this? Do it in an arena. You control it. If you wish to do an interview with Elon Musk after you announce, that's fine. And he was doing the rounds, afterwards. He was on, Fox and stuff like that. And that's fine. But it made no sense. We immediately had questions. But it came up so soon what the format was going to be, where we just went, okay, maybe we're missing something.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have all the information. Maybe there's something unique he's going to do here. Well, it was unique.
Oh,
all right.
Definitely unique.
But not good unique.
No.
But other than that, the messaging was on, and we'll hit that coming up.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, we'll have the first TV interview that he did on Fox News, Ron DeSantis, or Rob, where he actually did the only thing he could do with damage control. So we'll get that in just a couple of seconds. But this was the thing that when I woke up at 10 o'clock, and I've been sleeping really good, and my alarm went off at 10 o'clock, and I'm up, and, there I am after I'm done showering, throwing on the clothes. I'm like, okay, let me find, and I'm on my phone as I'm going through the house. Where's the video? Where's the video? And I can't find any video, and I'm up.
Right.
I said, I can't find any video of this anywhere. Where's the video? Because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the clips.
Right.
The video clips. This is 2023. I'm looking for the video clips. Where are the video clips of him on Twitter Spaces? I had no idea Twitter Spaces was audio only. So I came in here. I'm still looking, and you said, Gary, Twitter Spaces is all audio. I'm like, what?
Well, and here's the thing, too, is that because when they announced that, I thought, okay, but his team will record it on video, right? They'll have, so that afterward they can push out a lot of clips from that the visual media companies will use. That's what you want, right? So that tomorrow morning, the television, morning shows would have clips. Video, right?
Yes.
The audio was live on Twitter Spaces, and here's the back and forth, and then you have the campaign recording a video. I thought for sure they were going to do that. Imagery is everything.
When you have the substance, don't blow the imagery. We're always concerned with politicians that have the imagery and not the substance.
Right.
And all of a sudden, what we got yesterday was substance but zero imagery.
Right.
And the other thing is, unless you're a professional broadcaster like we are, most people, when you're used to seeing them, whether it's television people, when you see them talking, and you see the their image on there, the body language, their face, their emotion, you take in the complete package. When it's simply audio only, and I find this a lot from people that I've watched on TV for the longest time, I'm like, ooh, they're not as powerful when it's just audio. And that's the thing. You want that imagery, and I can't, as I told you just before we came into the break, I went, well, why the hell didn't they just do it on Telegraph? Because it's like we have the technology of video. You use it. This is the biggest moment of your political career. You control everything with the messaging at this point, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was really shocking to learn that nobody put this on video, that you didn't record, because that would have, the setting I'm thinking of is the two of them sitting in a chair side by side, either in a studio or on a stage somewhere. The kind of presentation that you make in the modern age. Now, the reason why audio only in that moment isn't sufficient. Now, it's not that, again, you can't do it after the announcement. You can do a number of interviews, but your audio-only interviews are going to be the last in line. Trust us, we know, we're radio. They go to television first for a reason, because they want the imagery out there. They want someone, your campaign wants to project this image of strength, confidence, and conviction in that moment. To number one, the voter on the right, this is you're focusing on the primary, but also then of course to the rest of the world, to everybody else who's eligible to vote. You're creating your new spotlight. You're creating your new image outside of Florida. you're reintroducing yourself if anybody's asking a question about, well, what's all that news about Ron DeSantis in Florida and schools and Disney, and you're building that from the foundation. And the thing too is that, there are, if you're going to do an interview, there can be effective pauses. If you're making a speech, if you're saying something, if you're issuing, whatever opinion, and there is an effective pause, you see that, the look in their eye, the consideration, or if they're having trouble answering a question,
you see the
same
panic.
thing.
Yeah, you can see.
And you're looking for that, and from the campaign standpoint, you want that image out there, his image out there at every step. And even if you're not going to do it primarily because, they can't do it on that format, then you have it available for all the other visual news media the next day. Because the audio's not great.
No, it's not.
It sounds like a Zoom meeting.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it was so funny. Gary, Twitter Spaces is audio only, and I'm looking at you like, are you kidding me? Why? And I looked at you and said, why not use the Telegraph then to announce you're running for president?
Right. Look, ...
dash. I mean, it's just
you do everything in the moments following the announcement. You do every major media that's going to get you exposure,
right?
On a large scale. There's a reason he didn't come to us. Our audience is too big.
Yeah.
So you just got to temper it. But the thing is, too, you don't want overexposure. The thing is, too.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. You just don't want to risk.
That's it.
You don't want to risk it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
too much exposure is bad exposure when you're running for president.
Listen, pace yourself. Yeah. So come on, it's not even 2024 yet. But that's it. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that you're not leading in the polls.
Yeah.
The guy leading in the polls. This is and you run, even if you always run like we said, you run as if you're 20, 30 points behind.
Which he is.
Which is exactly where he is in pretty much every poll right now for the GOP primary. I thought he would have had this down.
I know. It is, that's the thing. It's so bad. It was so bad. Now, not the substance of what he talked about.
The message was great.
Right, because he talked in the commercial.
But nobody's talking about the message now.
And that's the problem. Because he hit all the right when you and I were playing the commercials, I went, oh, okay, good. He used the word, we need sane. We're not going to be insane. That's a key word. It's something that we've used all the time, not for political purposes, but because it's true.
Yeah, right.
And then he used the word truth. We're about truth. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be insane. We're about, we're about truth. We're about common sense.
Decline is a choice.
Right. Decline is exactly.
Something
decline.
It's almost verbatim what we say. We use that word, and we talk. In fact, we talk about where we are as a nation, and all these situations that are on the plate. All of them are choices.
And so that's the thing that you look at it, and it's like when Trump brings him up and starts criticizing, even at a rally, you don't get the response.
No.
Because on the actual issues, 95% of Republicans agree with about 95% of what DeSantis stands for and the things of substance that he has done.
And tonight, they're talking about 0% of that.
Right.
I'm
going to play just a little bit here. He was on with Trey Gowdy on Fox News, and DeSantis joins Fox News for his first TV interview since announcing his run for president and Trey Gowdy, talked about the technical problems and said, well, that was probably because just so many people were tuning in, and that might have been it. I mean, it sure. But if it was 1 million and you can't handle that, you got a problem. You should have investigated that before you decided to use that format. Mm-hmm. But here's what he said, which is the only defense that when I played this, we listened to this during the bottom of the hour, and you said, that's the only defense. That's it. That's your only defense that you can use.
It's a good response.
And here it is. Here we go.
We had a huge audience. It was the biggest they'd ever had. It did break the Twitter space. And so we're really excited with the enthusiasm. But ultimately, it's about the future of our country. Trey, I'm running to lead a great American comeback. We know the country's on the wrong track. We see it with our eyes. We feel it in our bones. We see the border being overrun. We see crime infesting the cities. We see the federal government making it more difficult for families to make ends meet. And we have a president who is a listless vessel, not energetic, and not dealing with the key challenges that are facing our country. But it does not have to be this way. Our decline as a country is not inevitable. It is a choice, and I think we can choose a better pathway. And so what I will do is help restore normalcy to our communities, integrity to our institutions, and sanity to our society. Truth needs to be the foundation of everything we do, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. We proved it could be done in Florida. We chose facts over fear when it wasn't popular. We chose education over indoctrination. And we've chosen law and order over rioting and disorder. If we can do it there, we can do it for the country. And the pledge I'll make for people is simply this. We need to win again as Republicans. We got to dispense with this culture of losing. And if you nominate me, I pledge to you that on January 20th, 2025 at high noon, that I'll be the guy on the west side of the Capitol with the left hand on the Bible and the right hand in the air, taking the oath of office as the 47th president of the United States. No more excuses. We've got to get this one done. And anybody that's so inclined to help us, I would love to have your support at rondesantis.com. If you make a donation, maybe we can break that part of the internet as well.
What you heard there is him repeating a lot of the elements verbatim from his ad.
From his ad, exactly.
And there's a reason for that. That's deliberate. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to repeat those elements for those who haven't heard it, and also restate them for those who have. You want to pound that message over and over again. Then you get into the conversations, the back and forth, the interviews, and you talk about, okay, what does that mean? Decline is a choice. I mean, you and I have been saying that all with everything on the table, the border, the economy, inflation, high crime. All of this is a choice. We can choose to do different. We can choose law and order in these major blue cities. I saw where John Mellencamp has a new song about Portland. And it's not a flattering song about Portland.
No way.
Yeah. No, and he's been kind of a leftist populist kind of
for the longest time, yes.
Yeah.
Really?
In the one line is something like in the land of plenty, something, but it's a direct hit, and he got some response from people that live there, that are more conservative and look at the situation or live near Portland maybe. And I haven't heard the song yet, but we talk about all of these situations. The border is open because we choose for it to be open. A number of people voted for this. We know that not everybody did. But as a nation, we're making these choices. We need to make very different choices.
Yeah, we'll talk about his messaging and the consistency of it, because that's when I heard the commercial and heard his interview there, I went, wow. And that was the point I was making earlier. You talk about disciplined messaging. That's disciplined messaging. Yeah. We'll get to that more. 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Carly and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, where he said decline is a choice. You and I both like that because if you listen to the show, you know that we've been saying that for the longest time. And that's just obviously because when he wakes up every morning, he listens to us on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah.
You know, right before Greg Tish comes on. And
Yep.
We've been on the morning show there.
I think so.
Yeah. We were on there one time.
I mean, I know we know Greg, but yeah.
But we were on. I think we were in the other studio the one time. But so we're taking credit for it.
Oh no, that is clearly something that he got from our influence.
Exactly.
Man, that's a scary thought.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Gary?
Yes?
We are getting breaking news.
Oh.
Our sources, which are mainly the voices in my head, tell us that former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, will be announcing later today on MySpace. Again, this is breaking news. We will follow this story as it doesn't develop throughout the show.
Oh, man.
The Kurt Schlichter. I had to read that again a couple of times during the day yesterday.
From Town Hall Magazine. Yeah, Town Hall Magazine. Yeah. Kurt Schlichter. That was great writing because it made a point and was comical all the way through. It was very well written.
Yeah,
very well written. Was. I was just going through seeing any early analysis of the DeSantis announcement and debacle. Andrew McCarthy, National Review. Once we got through the first half hour,
yeah,
and he goes, DeSantis is really excellent on policy. Well, I think everybody knows that. Well, in the media, we know that.
Yeah,
you know,
right. Yeah,
DeSantis is really excellent on policy, well-spoken, presents lots of facts, but marshals them well, has a good grasp on how government is supposed to work, what legislation is pending, what the Supreme Court might do about the Chevron deference, how to rein in the administrative state, pronounces names correctly, remembers them too. This could have been really good on a reliable platform if it had been a one-on-one discussion with a solid host who would and by the way, all of our opinions were before I read this. And it's just like,
right.
Okay.
I had not seen that before you.
It mirrors exactly what almost exactly what we said. It could have been a really good. Well, this isn't a way to kick off a campaign.
No.
Have the discussion somewhat, not the way to kick for an interview, whatever.
Right.
But this could have been a really good interview on a reliable platform if it had been a one-on-one discussion with a solid host who would ask good questions but let him talk. I also think the governor is going to do very well if he's challenged. He is well prepared and knows how to interject without being rude. The Twitter rollout was a bad idea, and they should have been certain the tech would work. And having Musk run it at the beginning meant there was too much stammering and chatter about Twitter. That's what I immediately thought.
Yep.
I thought it was really bad at didn't want to hear from Musk.
No.
I don't care what he has to say.
Right.
In this format.
Right,
for this particular, he can another format on things concerning him and Twitter and Tesla. Yeah, fine. But the last 45 minutes underscores that DeSantis has real strengths. You can easily see how they can be capitalized on going forward. The downside, no one asked about the orange elephant in the room, and DeSantis has signaled no urge to go there. It's what people need to be confident about, that he's going to go after Trump, be ready to hit him between the eyes. It's not like there's a lack of material, and not pull punches out of concern about the Trump base. The attitude has to be, this is a quote here, I will kick his ass and the base will come along, and whoever doesn't, who cares, end of quote. Now, this is coming from, and by the way, we started this in 2012, offering our services as political consultant to Romney.
Yeah,
or maybe it was even before just Romney. Maybe we offered it in the primary. I think we offered it in the primary.
Yeah.
Because we did offer it to Newt Gingrich.
Yeah,
remember when Gingrich was attacking?
And we were very cheap. Our rates back then were very low.
I think $1 million.
I think
they've gone up. By the time we got to 2016, Eric was up to like $4 or $5 billion, but inflation made it so that was
yeah.
But we are offering. Can we get out of this contract?
No.
Damn, I can't offer it then.
We can't.
We can't get out.
Yeah. No.
Why did you force me to sign last year?
What?
I'm too old to be doing this.
We can moonlight. I rarely sleep anyway. Or is it sunlight in our case?
I think there's a problem if we're working for a campaign. I think we have to.
Oh, you mean ethics? Well, I'm not worried about that. Please.
Well, we would have told we had questions. This came up so quickly that we went, what? But if we would have been in a meeting and they would have proposed this in the campaign, we would have said, what are you, out of your mind? No way. You control everything. No, you don't bring in a huge celebrity like Elon Musk, who's not an interviewer, to basically control the interview, because that's what you do. You set the premise of it.
Right.
But as for going after Trump, one thing that I noticed, and this was in the interview and I don't know if it was in the commercial, but it was in his interview with Musk, and then it was also in his interview with Trey Gowdy. Republicans have to stop the culture of losing. Well, I think you may see early on there's a trial balloon on that one, that they don't want to be mentioning Trump all the time, but they put that message out there.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed, and this is in the last couple of weeks, I think National Review even had it. I think they had an article on it about, the culture of losing. That losing for Republicans have now become sort of a badge of honor, because every election is, you're being ripped off.
Yeah.
And, you saw Carrie Lake, that the last court challenge she had was thrown out. But the discussion is that now she's going to run for the Senate. Mastriano in Pennsylvania thinking about running for the Senate. And
all we need now is Oz to run again.
Yeah, and what you're seeing is everybody knows what that means. Every Republican right now, all you're trying to do is win the primary.
Right.
So when you say the culture of losing, it's we have picked candidates that lost. No matter what you say, they lost.
Yeah.
And you saw when he talked to Trey Gowdy, we've got to stop the culture of losing in the Republican Party, and I guarantee, because that's what he said, I guarantee it comes January of 2025. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get my years right. Yeah. I will have my hand on the Bible. You see it. I see it on Republican blogs everywhere.
Yeah.
And the culture of losing, you can add Mastriano and Lake, the fact that they may run again, and there is a concern from Republicans. I see it on the blogs that why has it become, and National Review had a column on it the other day, why has it become that losing is now viewed as the new winning?
Right.
For Republicans. And for Trump, that means 2020. It means the Senate race in 2020. And it means the midterms in 2022. That's what it means to Republicans, that we lose. This is a mindset in the Republican Party. Not all the Republican Party, not loyal Trump supporters, but you see it on the conservative blogs and the Republican blogs everywhere on social media.
Yeah.
That we need to win. And so do you just mention Trump, or do you just say the culture of losing and test market to see how that goes? Because do you want to be pounding on Trump every single day, or do you want to see if that message holds water? I don't think DeSantis is afraid to go after Trump.
No.
He knows he's eventually going to
The question is,
going to have to do it.
do
Just
you
like
need
Trump.
to do that,
Right.
and does it benefit you in the way that historically that tactic benefits you? Look, and this is all in my tiny little brain, but I do believe that right now, politically, people are not wanting to hark back to, the things that happened in prior elections. They want to focus on, okay, what are the problems right now, and how do we fix them? And if you're going to have a message, you're going to have to say, these are the solutions. First of all, these are the problems.
Right.
And it's so obvious right now. Seems like every election cycle we say this, but really, inflation, the rise in violent crimes, the fact that these criminals are getting away with so much because the left is making it, creating a situation where they're going to walk, where they're not going to be either prosecuted or stay in jail very long. And the American people are tired of that. You could be someone who's voted blue and only blue your entire life, and you know what we just said is right.
And so when you have it, you look at, we'll see what the polling goes over the next few weeks, and I wonder if he's going to be running a significant number of ads. But you're talking about winning the primary. That's the first thing. This is not the general election. And Republicans that vote in the primary are pretty well informed.
Yeah.
And more informed than the general public that votes in a general election. They're voting in a primary. With the Republican Party, here's what you have. You have loyalty towards Trump. All the other candidates out there, they look at it's like, that have announced. DeSantis isn't Even loyal Trump supporters, unless you're part of the campaign where you're, calling him a rhino or DeSanctimonious, but 90% of Republicans are not buying into that.
Right.
And you've seen it at the Trump rallies where he'll say stuff about it and you don't get the response you would expect from a Trump audience.
Right.
Because they like DeSantis. They may have great loyalties and believe that their guy got ripped off, but that doesn't mean that they automatically dislike DeSantis.
Right.
So that's what you have there. So the message is going to be, you don't have to use Trump's name all the time. When you say we've got to stop the culture of losing in the Republican Party, everybody, any Republican that's going to vote not every, but the vast majority of Republicans that will vote in the primary understands exactly what that means.
Well, and it is a very forward-looking tactic that you have to put the past behind you. What has happened in recent elections, all that has to be over. You've got to focus on winning, and you've got to focus like you've never done before. Look, a lot of this is also on the GOP, the party itself, and how bad they are, to the extent that they seriously said that from now on we're going to pick candidates that can win.
Well, but that's why you don't have to get personal with Trump right now.
Right.
You simply say we need to stop the culture of losing in general. Everybody knows that means the Senate races in 2022 and the president. But it's not the president and Trump. but it's not Trump alone. So you deflect taking criticism directly about Trump because you've said the culture of losing overall.
Yeah.
And you're eventually going to have to go after Trump. But I have a feeling when I heard that, because everything you've seen, the message is extremely disciplined. And when I heard culture of losing, I went, oh, okay, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
We don't want to, we're not going to go back and forth with Trump on everything, but Republicans voting in the primary knows exactly what that means, the culture of losing. Now, they may agree with it or they may disagree with it, but it's out there. It's out there. You go to Republican blogs, you go to conservative blogs, and pages on Twitter and Facebook, and you'll see it all the time. Mm-hmm. We've got to win.
Yeah.
We've got to win. We've got to win. We've got to stop the losing. Losing cannot be a badge of honor because it doesn't move the agenda forward.
Right.
And I think that's what he probably is doing. We'll see how it works. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Leased owner-operators should be aware of 4 common revenue myths, lest you fall into the trap of mistaking revenue for profit. Myth 1, concentrate on increasing revenue because costs will take care of themselves. This is not true, as costs are fundamental to the profit equation and the area where owners exert the most control to improve. Myth 2, more revenue per mile is the answer to all problems. Though carrier pay packages differ in structure, revenue per mile really doesn't change much from company to company, but there can be a big difference in miles, overall gross revenue, reimbursements, and fees. Myth 3, all you have to do to be successful is run a lot of miles. In reality, revenue is only half of the profit equation. Costs are the other half. It's possible to generate a lot of revenue, yet spend $1.10 to make every dollar. Myth 4, you can tell how well you're doing by the size of your settlement check. The settlement check is only a part of the success picture. Miles driven, loads hauled, conditions, mechanical problems, time off, and especially costs all have to be considered. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just going through Twitter, and it's amazing right now because you've got, DeSantis people on there now, and it's going back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting, and it's going to get more interesting now that, DeSantis is officially announced. Now, how hard will he be campaigning early on? You've got a long time here, before you get, to the actual, primaries.
Yeah.
Beginning of next year. Mm-hmm. But will be interesting to see just because messaging he's on. The message is there. It's clear.
Yeah.
And it's simply this. We need to stop the insanity of what's going on. We need to stop. We need to have common sense. We need to have the truth. And then he gets into the specifics of all the issues that back up those things. And then at the end, and we need to stop the culture of losing for Republicans. Mm-hmm. How would that resonate? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it resonates. I know it resonates with a lot of people. How many? Will the polls start moving? We will see. We've talked about what Trump has to do. Trump needs to start talking about policy. He needs to forget about the royal family. He needs to forget about the people on The View. He needs to, whatever he did last night on Truth Social, must stop that because that was completely incoherent. He came down with Bidenitis on that one. Talking
it was weird.
That was just bizarre. And I don't know if he can do that. I don't know for many Republicans whether they care.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting because in the next few months, really in the next 6 months, we are going to see where the Republican Party, where they actually stand now that DeSantis is a candidate. I don't believe, I saw the other day, this is Tim Scott's path to the presidency. I don't see it.
No.
I just,
no.
I don't,
No.
I don't, I think it's.
Well, there
I think
hasn't, within the party, there hasn't been, Tim Scott is ever present, but there hasn't been the political buzz in terms of the primary for 24 in the GOP. You didn't have people waiting, asking, wow, is he going to run like DeSantis and Trump? Mm-hmm. You didn't have that. In fact, they're pretty much the two.
Yeah.
But right now, Trump is in the lead, and DeSantis has work to do.
A team of lawyers monitoring this show at all times for your protection. Nightly, Red Eye Radio.
No, that's the View.
And it's a little too close to home.
Good morning. He's Eric. I'm Gary. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. Man, I'm telling you, the Babylon Bee is just scoring with some headlines. This may be my favorite sports headline they've had ever. California grants Lakers reparations of 10 extra points after playoff loss. Then there's a picture of Eric Adams in New York City. Sanctuary City bummed now that it actually has to do the sanctuary part. Oh, my God. That is,
Wow.
That is just.
I love it.
This is. The thing I love. The thing I love about the Babylon Bee is I loved Mad Magazine growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
How they would just take on anybody.
Yeah.
Now the Babylon Bee is a Christian satire site, but they'll take on everything.
Oh yeah.
They've hit. They've made fun of Christianity at times.
Yeah, sure.
And so, I mean, they're really about, the humor in everything that happens. Here's one here. Southern Poverty Law Center classifies everyone not currently wearing a pride shirt as a hate group.
Yeah.
Well, there's a picture of DeSantis. Adolf Hitler announces run for president. Dodgers summon Satan to throw out first pitch at Pride Night. Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They do have one here about Target. Where's the one on Target? Psst, hey, kid, want to change your gender? Says Target dog emerging from clothes rack. Oh, my, oh, my, oh, my, oh, my.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, and then this is one I love. Wife calls off Target boycott 5 seconds after walking into Walmart. Oh, and my favorite from last week, and I never read this one.
Yeah.
Homeschooled only child consistently at the top of his class.
I love it.
Oh, man. And
That's
what was
fun.
the one I saw yesterday? It wasn't on a parody site. Somebody had it on Twitter. And this is after Newsom took off at Target.
Yeah.
Because they backed off. Apparently, I mean, they haven't confirmed it, but apparently they've taken the kids' stuff out.
Yeah, right.
And so he's objecting to that. And I did see something that said, what was it now? Something like Newsom tells California shoplifters it was either to shop at Target or not to shop at Target. But I mean, it was whatever it was. I had to think about it like, wait a minute. Well, the shoplifters steal. They're actually not.
Yeah,
shopping.
they're not shopping.
But I burst out laughing when trying to figure it out. I was laughing at it, and I forgot which way they actually did it. But the whole Target thing, I go back to Kevin O'Leary, who I saw in a YouTube interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just shaking his head, because he said, I'm a consultant and stuff like that to businesses and have been my whole life. And being asked about it, he just said, you can tell he can't believe that people in business are actually getting involved in such controversial things that will turn off probably the majority of their customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not even turning off half when you look at the liberal transgender activist movement and their focus on children.
Yeah.
And their belief that biological males are biological females and should be able to compete. You got 70% of the American public that disagrees with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw the interview that he did, I saw this a couple of days ago, it was here last week he did it, you could just tell he didn't know what. At times it was like he was lost for words because he cannot believe the absolute stupidity of these companies. And his thing is, you just stay out of it. You market a brand for what you offer.
Yeah.
You don't tailor it to offend your advertising to offend half or more of your potential customer base.
Well, that's it. Because jumping into anything controversial is going to split your base. Why would you want to do that? Why would that be your goal? If you want to make a statement, then know that it's going to, because the only statement in retail should be, we want your business. We don't care who you are. We don't care where you live. We want your business. Go back to Schwartz at Starbucks. Years ago, we said this. You do an interview. Sure, I'll do an interview. I'm going to talk about Starbucks. Ask you a question about an issue. Listen, all I can say is we welcome everybody from all walks of life. We make a great cup of coffee. In fact, we make it exactly the way you want it. In fact, we'll write your name on the cup.
Yeah.
And we invite you to come in and get a great cup of coffee. We have locations all over the U.S.
What's your position on gun control? Well, we follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we would expect everybody to follow what the law is, but it's not up to me to tell somebody what to do. I sell coffee.
Different states and jurisdictions have their laws.
Right.
And so that would be up to those lawmakers in those jurisdictions. What we do is make coffee.
Right. And we make the very best coffee.
Yeah. And
well, I mean, I'm the marketing guy. I'm not necessarily agreeing with that statement.
Yeah. and if you're Target, hey, we've got a huge sale right now. Hey, we have all of these offerings that the other discount retailer doesn't. I mean, they've actually built that brand on that. You pretty much, for any adult, they already know that about Target. And the joke from the Babylon Bee is a prime example. It's funny because everybody understands it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the idea that, some people just don't like walking into a Walmart. And it's that joke's been around forever.
Right.
In one form or another, delivered with different words. You've already built that brand. Keep that going. In a time during inflation, advertise your specials. Advertise how you can save money. You don't even have to say the word inflation. The reason you don't is because your prices are going up too. That's how inflation works. What you do is you just talk about your sales. You advertise what's going on, your offerings, your values that you offer. And if you want to jump into a controversy head first, know that you're splitting your audience and your bottom line will be affected, and your consumer base. And this is the thing too. It's very hard to correct that. And how did you not learn the lesson during the whole bathroom thing?
And yeah, you and I talked about that, I believe, off. I mean, we talked about it when it happened on the air, but off the air, we just talked about that here in the last day and just shook our heads going, what? They didn't learn from the bathroom thing.
Right.
You got to be kidding me. And as we've stated, what really surprises me, because I think that probably most of the country, I believe most of the country is live and let live.
Right.
If you're gay, you're gay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If whatever, whether they disagree with your lifestyle or agree with your lifestyle, it's like, well, live and let live. And
right.
I do think the majority of people, are that way. Now, you and I, when gay marriage got into the constitutional issues of it and things like that, but taking that away from it, most people, even if they disagree with the lifestyle. And remember, there are people that disagree with heterosexuals living together.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because it was like when it would be you'd see a gay activist say, well, yeah, but these Christians believe we're going to hell. Well, same if you're a heterosexual sleeping with somebody out of marriage. So do you not understand the religious dogma of that religion?
Right.
It's not just it's just not you. There's a variety of things that people view as especially in 2023 as probably being particularly radical to the culture that they grew up in of what, a lot of modern Christianity is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to get that pushback. But to me, what surprises me is the defense or the not understanding that the new LGBTQ is focused on transgenders and grooming children and body mutilation of children and parental rights where parents have no right over their children and wanting to throw adult themes at children. And then actually coming out and saying, you're denying children's rights. Are you kidding me? You're going to try to sell that to the American public? You're insane. And so when you get behind all of this, and I think I told you that I got an email back about 3 weeks ago. And this was after the NHL said they may be backing off on the whole Pride Night thing.
Yeah.
You saw that. And
yeah, right.
I got a thing from the Buffalo Sabres because I'm a Sabres fan, and I haven't bought the TV in a while, though, and I haven't gone to a game in years because I don't live there, but I used to, so I'm still on their mailing list.
Right.
And they asked me, give your opinion, of the team and everything else, and I gave my opinion. Most of it was positive about the team. All right, any general comments? And I blasted them about that. I said, don't you realize that when you embrace the modern LGBTQ, which is the liberal LGBTQ, that it's all about transgenders now. And it is about child mutilation. And if you don't understand that, you better educate yourself on it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what DeSantis is on all the time. We do live basically in a live and let live society.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I disagree with what you're doing, but, you're my neighbor. You're all right, you live next door to me, you're gay. I disagree with your lifestyle, morality-wise. You need help, I'm there for you. Why? Because most people can disagree with other people and still love them and be there for them as neighbors, as part of a society, as part of a family, and still disagree. But what they're trying to sell you is, if you disagree with me, then you hate me and you're a hate mongerer.
Right.
Or if you disagree with grooming children or teaching adult sexualized content to children, that all of a sudden you become a hate mongerer and you're denying people their constitutional rights. Well, you're insane if you think that way. And I'm glad that DeSantis has picked up on us using the insane for a significant period of time as to what they're doing. It should be used more often because that's how the American public looks at it. But for Target not to understand with everything they're going on, the CEO should be fired.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Especially his comments from last week. It's like, how tone deaf are you?
I just don't know how in the world you make that decision with so many people in that process of making that decision.
I know. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara, 866-90 Red Eye. More on Target. And you saw the Bud Light backlash where experts are warning supply shortages of other beers.
Yeah, right.
Because of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty bad. When your product is doing so badly, it's causing a shortage for your competition. That's bad.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday. All over the place Thursday, huh?
Yeah.
It was sad yesterday to hear Tina Turner died, 83 years old.
Yeah.
Which means, I think about when she made her comeback in the 80s.
Yeah.
And she was in her 40s then.
Yeah.
And I remember that, she's so old and she's coming back. Well, I was in my 20s, so it was like, oh, yeah, she's old. Now 40-year-old rockers are commonplace.
Yeah.
50-year-old rockers.
Well, that's it.
80-year-old rockers are commonplace.
Somebody, I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was a stand-up or maybe a late-night joke or something. Tina Turner turned 42 today, but her legs are only 25.
Yeah, exactly.
And she, watching, and I never saw her live, but watching her work made me sweat.
Yeah.
And, the belting, she could belt out. Her scream would capture the moment. I was telling you during the top of the hour break, one of my favorite songs to hear her sing is the duet she did with Bryan Adams, It's Only Love, which hit the top 40. It was on a Bryan Adams album, but she owned that room. I mean, that was all her. All due respect to Bryan Adams. If you're going to do a duet with Tina Turner, you have to know, and I'm sure he would say this, you give the stage over to her.
You come
she owns the
You come
stage.
in second place.
Yeah.
It was interesting because you and I we just during the top of the hour started talking about it, and it was funny because I was thinking about it all day. I said, "Oh, how can I how can I say this? 'Cause it's not an insult, but she had one of the best, and you used it, screaming, singing voices.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when I'm going to say Fogerty, but it was actually CCR when they came out with Proud Mary.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's a really good song. And then it was like a year and a half later, 2 years later, as a kid, Tina Turner came out with it.
Mm-hmm.
Ike and Tina Turner. Well,
Right.
I mean, it wasn't even the same song.
Yeah. Right.
And she just absolutely, at the end, the build up to the end of that song was just unbelievable. And she crossed, there are some artists that, you sit there and say, well, they're rock or they're country or they're, R&B or they're soul, or she was Tina Turner.
She had her own genre.
Yeah.
She had her own genre.
There was no genre. She just
Right.
had that kind of talent, that kind of voice where it was like, well, no, that's Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of music is it? Tina Turner.
It's all of it. It is soul, R&B, rock. Deliver a ballad. The thing is trying, when she did the Mad Max soundtrack, We Don't Need Another Hero.
Yeah.
It's kind of a power ballad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard it the other day. It wasn't a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, man, that song, stands alone from the movie. It's great when it can stand alone from the movie. You don't need to couple it with the movie.
Right.
Sorry, Ray Parker Jr., but the song Ghostbusters is always going to be about the movie.
You're right.
Simplistic point to make, but
it's very tough not to. It's the name of the movie.
Ghostbusters. But, it had so much, it really stood alone, stood out. And I thought to myself, it's hard with her energy. It must be, and I think impossible as a listener, as a fan, to contain her within a ballad. Now, there are some great ballads, but you need to know that energy is going to be the same as the Proud Mary, which is going, 500 beats per minute.
Yeah, I know.
And there's that energy is going to be, you're still going to look at that and go, wow. And it really is about delivering the emotion.
It was funny because we had left Tina Turner out a couple weeks ago. We were talking about, and I forgot how the topic related. It was related to something, but we were talking about how the members of Heart, Ann and Nancy Wilson, were talking about the sexism in the radio industry, and all that. And I said, well, it might have been in the radio industry. It wasn't from us. And then we started going.
The fans didn't.
I started going through the fact that I never discriminated against women artists, and I talked about going back to. Even Motown with Diana Ross and some of the great female singers there that really caught your attention. And she was one of them.
Right.
And so there was never, I never had the record, the liberal record business might have been sexist, but I don't think the listening audience ever was. And she was one of those voices that just, think about this, small transistor radio. And that voice it didn't matter. You could listen to her on a big stereo or on a transistor radio. You are old, Gary. What's a transistor radio? But that little, it comes out of that. Or if it comes even out of your phone, I'll do the 2023 comparison. Comes out of your phone. It's still like, whoa.
For the young people, it's like when your Bluetooth speaker isn't working. Why does it sound that way? But that's those are the artists that really and that's it. It's always about that emotional connection and whatever it is. If if you need a little motivation for me, I mean, if I need a little motivation, if I want to crank up a song, it's going to be that duet with Bryan Adams. But I'm just waiting for her part, because you can actually visualize it as you're listening to the song. Her walking up to the mic, walking onto the stage, and just commandeering the stage. And it's the energy is just incredible.
And when she would do a ballad, and What's Love Got to Do with It?
Yeah.
During that whole song, I'm like, I want to hear Proud Mary. I'm not saying she doesn't have a great voice, but I want the intensity of her screaming voice. I've always wanted that. Great point you made, though, about, Ghostbusters, you think of the movie. Take My Breath Away, Berlin. You think of Top Gun immediately, right? It's the only thing you think of, Top Gun.
Yeah.
It's just there. But with her, it stood her, We Don't Need Another Hero, stood alone from the movie.
Yeah.
Completely did.
It really did. And I guess it was always if she was going to sing that song, And the other one, I mean, Simply the Best is one of those great rock pop songs that delivers, and it has that positive vibe, but she's delivering the chorus is a crescendo over and over and over. That's hard to do in a song.
No,
most songs have one crescendo. The chorus, because of how she delivered it, was a crescendo that just went throughout the song, and that's what makes that energy work. She did that with anything she performed. Any song she performed, that crescendo was happening repeatedly, and that energy was just lifted to that point.
And I'll use
every
another
single
word,
time.
Intensity.
Yeah.
It was intense.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Right. And the definition of crescendo, and I know that, probably some music teachers are going to write me, well, actually, no. That's the whole point, is that it is bringing it to that peak over and over again.
Yeah.
That's extremely rare in terms of the natural ability, and that's what she had to do that. And, that's, her contribution to rock and roll and to pop music and to soul and R&B, look, it's you don't even have to say it. It just is.
And then, and when she first became well known, she was in the horrible marriage with Ike.
It's interesting. New York Post had a piece, and I didn't get to finish reading it, but it was the headline was something to the effect why she decided to forgive him, for that abuse during that time. And, it's, and we all knew it. It was just, it was part of it. But then to see her rise in the 80s.
Yeah.
And
there was a good feeling about that.
Yeah.
There really was in the
it was a redemption.
Right.
But it was also an acknowledgement that she was it. She was the point.
Yeah.
And that's I think that felt good for a lot of people that felt really bad for her having been in that situation. And you see that during the 80s, it was just boom, all over the place.
And I was thinking that because when you had said it earlier, when it came out and, she was in her 40s and had the big comeback, if you say it today, like, well, what a great singer, and those legs, it might be viewed as sexist.
Yeah.
But that was part of the marketing campaign.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the marketing. You just
those legs were working. The thing is that
exactly.
It was like they were a member of the band.
There was Tina Turner, then there was Tina Turner's legs.
Exactly. Because of the way that she, danced on the stage. That wasn't just dancing.
But,
that was
but her move. But that's a great point. The movement which, again, created by the legs,
Yeah.
was the same intensity as the voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, there are very few, there's so many artists that I like, and it's like, oh, yeah, they fulfill this in me. But you see someone like her. Can you imagine seeing her? That's one thing. Wish I would have seen her live. Because, seeing her live is because she was just, there was an intensity that was outside of any of what, when I was in that age group, where I, especially maybe not because there was no favorite music when she first came out. I was listening to everything. It was top 40 radio. I was still developing. Mm-hmm. I'm a teenager just listening to everything.
Right.
But then my music taste veered off a little bit, to, as I've always talked about, more prog rock, classical stuff like that, which I still love the most. Mm-hmm. But then there are just those moments where you go, well, it doesn't matter. This is just pure greatness. And we've talked about many times about music genres we might not think we like. And then you see somebody live and you go, oh, okay, I'm wrong here. I may not still listen to it on the record, but live, there was such an intensity. But she had it both. I mean, she had it live and her recordings were just spot on. I mean, as well produced as you could get for that particular time.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable delivery. We were talking the other day about the Foo Fighters and their new drummer, Josh. By the way, I saw a video of them doing Monkey Wrench.
Yeah.
In the studio. If you ever have a question as to how tight they are as a band, and by the way, that includes Josh. He was killing it, crushing it. Watch that video. It's somebody else posted it. It was not on their YouTube channel, but it came up on the algorithm sent it to the top on my feed, and I watched it, and it's amazing.
Yeah, they're doing they've done a lot of in studio stuff. If you can see the one that really blew me away a couple years ago, which is one I've said they started changing the direction of what they do. It just wasn't. And we mentioned that Clive Davis, the famous record producer, who told him, he was like, well, we're doing the acoustic, and he goes, do it all together.
Yeah.
Put it in together, everything together in a song. And Dave Grohl went, oh, yeah. And all of a sudden, that mindset took Foo Fighters, in my opinion, to a new level. But shame, off the last album or 2 albums ago, that they do live, and it was a something X, Radio X, on YouTube. Yeah, that is so incredibly tight. It's like, this has to be from a studio, and it's not. It's live. You can tell it's live. Yeah. They're doing it live.
Right.
It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Really, really
it really
good,
is. Yeah. It is. It's interesting to kind of compare different acts between Foo Fighters has been around for decades, and a legend like a Tina Turner. Like I said, with Bryan Adams, you get her on the phone. You got to know you're handing that song over to her. But the influences, with all of them, all the above, are going to be there for forever.
What an amazing life.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I still shake my head over Target because the whole thing about, Target already talking about their losses because of shoplifting to begin with.
Yeah.
And, and then this whole thing comes out, and it's just like you shake your head going, what are they thinking? And then this came out. When Target approached the brand, is it called Abprallen, to design clothing for its 2023 Pride collection, the retail giant was fully aware of the brand's Satanist-inspired merchandise. My God, I'm reading this going, my God, what do you? And they knew it, according to a statement posted by the designer. Target initially sold 3 products, a messenger bag saying we belong everywhere across trans flag colors and planets, a tote bag with the message "Too Queer for Here" beneath a UFO, and a Cure Transphobia, Not Trans People sweatshirt. Those 3 items are no longer for sale online. They were being sold online. Others that were not sold at Target included Satanist imagery and glorified violence against alleged transphobes. This is what the designer said. When I was approached to create products for Target, they told me that my work, such as Satan respects pronouns, wouldn't be a good fit. They were observant enough and had the necessary critical thinking skills to realize that my use of occult imagery is as harmless as any horror movie targeted towards adults, but wanted my collection for adults to be a little less gothic, said the designer, who was a self-described gay trans man who goes by Eric.
Yeah.
Who wrote in a series of Instagram stories. Target did not respond to National Review's request for comment to confirm the brand's characterization of the events. Oh.
Maybe we need to have another meeting with him. That's the whole thing you and I always talk about. Okay, how does the meeting go? It would be a series of meetings. A number of people involved in making these decisions.
That's what gets me laughing, is knowing that there was a meeting, a series of meetings on this.
And then, yes, let's go with it. Was the end of the meeting. Wow.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. All right, well, CBS covering the whistleblower.
Yeah.
In fact, not that they've outed him, but really this is the first interview Gary Shapley has done. He is the supervisor. We now know who he is. We had said this couple of days ago. We said they know who the whistleblowers are.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's not hidden. And so he came out. I want to play a little bit of the story as it was covered by CBS last night, who was, for the most part, ignored the story. But then, boom.
Yeah.
And you look at the polling on all of this. You know, you and I looked at, this isn't conservative polling either. And we brought it to you, I believe, some new polling yesterday that showed vast majority of Americans believe that, Hunter Biden did illegal influence peddling, and the majority of Americans believe the same thing with Biden. As we have said, there's about 10% more people that believe Hunter Biden was involved in illegal influence peddling than Joe Biden. But the funny thing about it is, I don't believe people understand that 10% what influence peddling is.
Yeah.
Because Hunter Biden couldn't do any influence peddling. He was a conduit to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Biden was the power base.
Yeah.
Biden has all the power. Biden is why there would be foreign governments that would want to give him money through Hunter Biden. Nobody was attempting to influence Hunter Biden. So that was sort of ridiculous the other day, but it shows the public, though, knows what's going on. And I do wonder when, on a lot of these things with the president, the media is eventually going to fold. They're eventually going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, they look, and one of the things we talk about is the talking points that the media shows up in front of Karine Jean-Pierre every day, and they want the talking points. This is how it works with a liberal administration. Liberal media shows up. Hey, give us, what you want to take back to our readers and viewers, and they're not doing that. So when that happens, guess what?
Yeah.
They got to go out and find their own stories. Oh, look, they found one.
And here's just a part of the actual story covered by CBS News.
When I took control of this particular investigation, I immediately saw it, it was way outside the norm of what I've experienced in the past.
Gary Shapley is a supervisory special agent for the IRS, where he's worked for 14 years. In January 2020, he was assigned to what he calls a high-profile investigation.
Who's the subject of the investigation?
I can't confirm or deny the subject of this investigation.
Why not?
Because, part of the tax secrecy laws don't allow it.
Shapley can't say it, but CBS News has learned the investigation was the probe of Hunter Biden by the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Delaware. Senior Biden administration officials have vowed to let it run its course without interference.
It's not restricted in his investigation in any way.
But CBS News has obtained this letter Shapley's lawyers sent to Congress Monday, alleging irregularities in DOJ's handling of the investigation. Shapley is seeking legal protections from Congress so he can share specifics of his allegations.
There was multiple steps that were slow-walked at the direction of the Department of Justice.
Had you ever encountered that before?
I have not, no. These deviations from normal process, and each and every time it seemed to always benefit the subject.
Shapley says he decided to blow the whistle after a heated meeting last October with federal prosecutors.
It was my red line meeting. It just got to that point where that switch was turned on, and I just couldn't silence my conscience anymore.
Did you let prosecutors know you were unhappy?
I don't think I can answer that.
Hunter Biden has denied any wrongdoing.
Like civil servants.
The IRS agent told us he is a registered Republican. His whistleblowing is being assisted by an advocacy group with past ties to the GOP. But Shapley says this is not about politics.
Why do you want to navigate these waters?
I don't want to do any of this. I took an oath of office, and when I saw the egregiousness of some of these things, it no longer became a choice for me. It's not something that I want to do. It's something that I feel like I have to do.
There you go. And we know there's a second whistleblower, and both are supposed to talk to the House this Friday. Did you? And I'm not sure if they're talking to the Senate. Did you see where the Senate banned Grassley? Mm-hmm. Democrats in the Senate said Grassley can't be part of the interview process.
Yeah, right. Yeah, look, this is the tactic from the Democrats on Capitol Hill, both in the House and the Senate. They can't talk about the border, so they just don't show up at the border hearings. And if something is going to go down in the Senate regarding this, then you don't want Grassley involved. I mean, it's ridiculous. But if you look at you look at the layout by CBS there, and they point out that whistleblower is a registered Republican. That's immediately what the liberal media was going to look toward. Okay, what's the political motivation? And you saw
they said the Trump appointed what's his name Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The prosecutor.
The prosecutor.
Yeah.
Right.
So all that's going to be part of it. But then you step back and say, okay, ask yourself the question. Assume that is part of the motivation. However, what do you have to do to carry this out? If it's not true, then these whistleblowers will face a bunch of problems, including, potentially, depending on if they're lying to investigators or whatever, jail time or anything else. Why would you risk that? Why would you risk any of that to come forward and doing interviews and the whole thing? Now you're putting yourself out there.
Right, but most the information that has been brought forward shows that Hunter Biden did evade his taxes.
Exactly. The basis of it.
That's the whole thing. We already know that without everybody saying, well, we can't, because you can't release it. But we already know because one of his friends gave him the loan or the grant or whatever to pay back $2 million in taxes. Right. And they did that in order to hopefully get a, if it does go, to a, one of two things. Well, we'll pay what we owe, even though we didn't report it and we evaded taxes. but has been said in any normal situation, just because you get caught and then pay your taxes after you get caught evading taxes does not mean that the charge is dropped.
Right.
You don't get the evasion, because, okay, I've been forced to do it. I've been forced to tell the truth now. So we already know from all the information out there that Hunter Biden evaded his taxes. That's against the law.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether he paid them when he got caught. He evaded it. And so that's the information that the whistleblowers have. They know that, and they probably have more specific information which is why this is probably a case where you would assume, being veterans, investigators, they see this as so slam dunk that you had to come forward. And from what I can see, it is slam dunk. He didn't pay the $2 million in taxes.
Right.
And he didn't report it, from what we know.
Right.
Because there is no case if you file and report the income and can't pay it, there is no issue. There's no investigation.
Right.
The investigation is for the evasion of taxes, not paying your taxes. They'll just, take what they need to take in order to get it back.
Yep.
And so that's where there's a huge problem for Biden here. And again, you have the whistleblowers that have come forward now, and the second one coming forward after the Department of Justice. And you saw that the IRS had said, I had nothing to do with stopping the investigation. This came from the Department of Justice.
Right.
I didn't do this.
Right.
And so where does it go right at? Merrick Garland.
Yep. There is really, the landscape is, if you look at it right now, is clear. And it's not good things for Biden. You asked the question, all right, from here, where does DeSantis go? How do you campaign? It's early. What are you going to do? Are you spending money on advertisements? Are you having rallies? What's going to be done? A lot of the heavy lifting on the president, and you're campaigning against a Joe Biden, is going to be done in the House and in these investigations. And a lot of it's going to happen this summer. We talked about watching the money. Also, by the way, on DeSantis, Washington Examiner reporting in the first hour after the announcement, he raised $1 million. DeSantis did. He has to keep doing that. I don't know that he can raise $1 million an hour, but he has to keep doing that. But the president right now has a big, 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 big problem. We've said Hunter is a liability and Joe Biden is a liability. This is not about Hunter Biden. This is about Joe Biden.
And the thing about, now I know why the Democrats in the Senate don't want Grassley to be part of it, because they want to be able to do their spin like they believe the House Republicans will do their spin. But I don't believe that the House Republicans have said that Democrats can't be there. I've not seen that.
No, I haven't seen that.
No. And so that was really they want Grassley out because they want to be able to spin it, which takes us to another story. We'll get to this following the top of the hour. But the one Republican Representative Luna of Florida, introduced a resolution that would fine Adam Schiff $16 million for his claim that former President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. I mean, it's coming out, as we said at the time. We told you, Schiff, a pathological liar, and he was the head of basically the House Intelligence Committee, and he lied to the American public about what information they actually had. He lied to the American public that the intelligence said that it was obvious that Trump colluded with Russia. And she's saying this all went forward because of him. He needs to pay half of the cost of the Mueller investigation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now I'm going to have to look into the legality. Can Congress fine another member of Congress? I don't know if that's even possible, but we'll But the point's being made that he lied about it, and he was one of the reasons that it was pushed forward because he said the evidence of collusion is there.
Yeah.
And he lied to the American public over and over and over.
It went
and
on
over again.
for a long time.
We'll get to that story coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Also coming up following the top of the hour, the Democrats on reparations in sanctuary cities. This relates to a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
It relates to the Seinfeld episode of the reservation for a used car. You know how to take the reservation.
You just don't know how to keep the reservation.
Hold the reservation.
Yeah.
And the same thing on, and Babylon Bee had a great headline saying Democrats basically have been promoting sanctuary cities for years. They seem to have a problem now with the sanctuary part of it. The same thing on reparations. On reparations, they've been promoting reparations for years. And they're still for reparations. They're just against paying for reparations. But the pain is the reparations.
Yeah.
When I started thinking of it in my head, I went, this is the whole used car thing.
It shouldn't be about money. It's always been about money.
Yeah, not DeSantis. Newsom.
Yeah.
Well, it's not about money.
Let's not make this about money. That's where you started.
I know.
Listen, I propose, whatever it was, amount for each eligible recipient. A few months later, listen, this isn't about money. It's like somebody calling their credit card company. Let's just stop making this about money, would you, with the late payment charges and everything. Can't we all just get along and agree to disagree? That I owe you so much on this credit card.
I was reading Jonathan Turley when he was writing about it. He goes, President Joe Biden and Congress are in a potentially lethal game of chicken over the looming default over our debt. It would not seem to be the ideal time to demand an additional $14 trillion for reparations.
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I'm just chuckling reading this from Jonathan Turley's website.
Mm-hmm.
Below is my column on the conflict in Democratic states over the fulfillment of prior political pledges from reparations to sanctuary cities. Democratic states like California cannot blame the opposing party for a failure to fulfill the pledge for cash reparations. And that's true. They're all led by Democrats. They can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
Democratic states like California cannot blame the opposing party for a failure to fulfill the pledge for cash reparations. It was them, and they're the majority.
Yep.
That leaves them in a bind. No blank, Sherlock. Small payments will belittle a commitment that was called a civic duty and a moral imperative. After years of campaigning on the issue, expectations are high and tensions appear to be rising. Quote, "It's time to pay." Those 4 words from Representative Cori Bush are being heard by a lot of Democratic politicians across the country this month. For Bush, the debt amounts to $14 trillion in reparations for every black American. In California, activists are demanding as much as $5 million per black resident and asking Governor Gavin Newsom, where's the money? One member of Newsom's reparation task force demanded that the state pay its sin bill. In New York and Chicago, mayors are balking at towering cost of migrants being shipped from the border to their sanctuary cities. In Tampa, after demanding $3 million per black resident, a witness said he and others were putting white people on notice that we want our reparations. Bills are coming due after years of political campaigning on these issues. Reparations and sanctuary cities have long been the bread and butter of identity politics. For years, Democratic politicians have campaigned on these moral imperatives in passing sanctuary laws and setting up reparation task force. It is the equivalent of a compounding interest on credit card debt. Each election, Democrats use these issues for short-term political gains. Now, those bills are coming due, and the Democratic leaders are balking on paying it. As we said, well, we believe in sanctuary cities. We just don't believe in the sanctuary part of it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we do believe in the sanctuary part of it. We don't agree with paying for the sanctuary part of it. Yeah, but paying is what creates a sanctuary.
And accommodating the sanctuary part of it.
Right. And on reparations, well, we're for reparations, but it's not about cash. That's all it's been about is cash. It's talk about moving Newsom moved the goalpost last week when he said that? It's like, oh, you're moving the goalpost now. Well, it's just not about money. Sure it is.
You know, it's funny because the left, if you look at it, what's been going on with activists and protesters, right? And we've touched on it repeatedly. To the extent that silence is violence. If you're doing nothing, you're violent. Well, now those in power on the left quite often find themselves basically doing the equivalent of clicking the like button on social media. Hey, we need reparations. Yeah. How are we going to pay for it? I don't know. Listen, let's not make this about money.
While many have denounced the busing of migrants to sanctuary cities, most privately admit that there is an element of poetic justice. For years, these cities have told undocumented migrants that they are welcome to come to their cities where they would be protected. Then they show up. It became the political version of Look Who's Coming to Dinner, the movie about a liberal couple who are confronted with the visit of their daughter and her black fiancé. That was, I believe, an early 70s movie. Mm-hmm. The single most riveting moment came at Martha's Vineyard, where residents came out to clap and wave to the migrants as they were shipped to a military base off the island. New York City has been shipping migrants to other cities, which are going to court to stop the relocation. Many of the towns point out that, unlike New York City, they never declared themselves a sanctuary for undocumented persons. Even though these cities have been sent only a fraction of the influx of states like Texas, mayors in sanctuary cities like Chicago have expressed outrage. As with those expecting reparations, these migrants are understandably confused. They were told Chicago was a sanctuary. Chicago reaffirmed this status in 2022 when it extended protections and benefits just last year. At the time, politicians scrambled for cameras to declare, as Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez, that Chicago must be a welcoming city for immigrants and reaffirmed that our city is responsible for acting with solidarity towards the people that are the most marginalized and the most impacted by a system that oppresses them. Then they show up in greater numbers, and the former mayor, Lori Lightfoot, demanded that these migrants be sent elsewhere or kept in border towns overwhelmed by a far greater number of migrants. In some cases, there is no alternative but to try to quietly abandon prior campaigns that generated acclaim nationally and caused serious damage locally. For example, some of us criticize cities like San Francisco for declaring a boycott of states which did not adhere to their views on issues like transgender rights. I noted at the time that the boycott would cost the city dearly in cutting off 22 states by driving up costs. Oh, we said that too, by the way.
Yeah.
It did. And then the city quietly rescinded the boycott after losing millions. While the media paid far less attention to the rescission than the original decision, other reversals have come at a greater political cost to the left. For example, cities that led efforts to defund the police are now refunding the police after soaring crime rates and high levels of police retirements and resignations. Activists in cities like Los Angeles called it a slap in the face, given years of promises from Democratic politicians. In the meantime, Newsom's task force has demanded an assortment of other changes, including eliminating cash bail, abandoning the prosecution of certain crimes, subsidizing home purchases for black residents, and guaranteeing a right to return by taking over development projects to guarantee black housing ownership. Some of these reforms can be finessed by politicians, but there is no spin that will obscure the absence of a cash payment.
And I would say also no spin that would obscure the absence of a full cash payment,
right?
To the extent that the activists are calling for, even if you don't get to, what was it, 200 million?
200 million has been the top level so far. I mean, you did advocate $1 billion. You went further, but you're not a California resident.
My question is, why wouldn't you go further? Because if you start on this, then my first question is, how do you put a price on it? You're going to have to, but if you're talking about a few $1,000s, then it's a joke.
I have to check, but I have not seen any polling whatsoever on reparations and the amounts.
Right.
Just generic reparations.
Right.
But not the amounts. Is there a reason for that? I'd like to see what California residents
start with 1 million. And a poll, is it enough, too much, or is it a correct amount? Not enough, too much, or correct. I'd like to see that poll. But the problem with this is exactly what we spell out day after day, is that the activists are outside the door shouting more, because you can't put a price on it. You can't put a price on it. And if you're going to say a few thousand, then it's going to be laughed at. And the laughter is going to be especially harsh. This is why the Democrats in California are trying to get away from this. They're trying to run away from it, including the top Democrat in that state, Governor Newsom. You've got to run away from something you started.
I love it. This isn't just about cash payments. Well, all of it's about cash payments.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, it
always has been.
And the ones that aren't, like buying a home, that's a cash payment.
Right.
It comes in a solid asset, but it's still cash being expended.
Right.
It's all about cash.
Yep.
Newsom. Oh, it's not really about cash, is it?
Why does everything have to be about money? I don't know. You tell me.
We have talked about this before. The abstract, which is, I had a gentleman that questioned my use of the term abstract, as we've talked about before.
Okay.
Abstract is look at the definition, theoretical. And it's we throw out these concepts, and then theoretically, will they work?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and we've often talked about, for example, nationalized health care or a single-payer system. When these states did it themselves, whether it was California, Colorado, or Vermont, and they found out how much it was going to cost, and they couldn't put the cost onto their children and grandchildren, sorry, they didn't get the single-payer system that they wanted.
Right.
They only want it if somebody else will pay for it. Reparations they want if somebody else will pay for it. Sanctuary cities they want if somebody else will pay for it. You hear the mayor screaming, we need help. Excuse me, you invited them. You became a sanctuary city. Chicago reaffirmed their sanctuary city status in 2022, saying, come here. And now you're saying that all other states should share with your mistake?
Yeah.
Or your decision, your choice?
Look,
DeSantis is right to use that term. Decline is a choice.
It is. The situations we're in right now, we chose to be here. And we can choose to do something different. Unless Biden steps down, Newsom is stuck with this reparations problem that he started.
Yeah. His board.
There's no way around it. Now the thing is about California, the blue bubble of California. Well, all the Democrats in that state are in the same boat. And so the effect will be across the entire party in that state, but it will be an effect. Now, it's not going to usher in a Republican party, but it is going to be damaged. And I think it also damages the party. We've talked about this before over the years. It also damages the party outside of that state. Because people, look, California believes we start the fire and then it spreads, and everything that we do brings, in their mind, justice or whatever it is to the rest of the nation. And that's exactly what's happening now. And you're not going to stop that. And then everyone points at Gavin Newsom. Right, Newsom, right? Could we talk about something else?
I think actually a lot of Democrats, a lot of states that Democrats were considering reparations, this has scared the hell out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the whole Bud Light situation, where companies are going, oh, man, what are we doing here?
Right.
But I think it scared the daylights out of a lot of Democrats going, we didn't know it was going to get to this, but this is out of control. They're talking millions of dollars. We would bankrupt our state. We can't be a part of this insanity. I believe all of this may have hurt the reparations movement.
Oh, I think so.
866-90 Red Eye.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. At the core of compliance, safety, accountability, or CSA, is FMCSA's Safety Measurement System, or SMS. The SMS uses 7 safety improvement categories called BASICs to examine a carrier's on-road performance and potential crash risk. The categories of BASICs are unsafe driving, hours of service compliance, driver fitness, controlled substances and alcohol, vehicle maintenance, hazardous materials compliance, and crash indicator. Under FMCSA's old measurement system, carrier performance was assessed in only 4 broad categories. Violations or crashes that have occurred within the previous 24 months of performance data are included in CSA calculations, but more recent events are weighted more heavily than older events. Violations or crashes that have happened within the past 6 months are weighted 33% more than events that occurred 6 to 12 months ago. And violations that are older than a year are weighted 66% less than recent violations. This allows a carrier to improve their CSA score gradually as they see fewer and fewer violations. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, we'll get to the GOP representative that's seeking a $16 million fine against Adam Schiff.
All right.
So I don't even know if Congress fine. I haven't seen any legal analysis on that one. And this is for Adam Schiff for lying about the Trump-Russia collusion, which GOP Representative Paulina Luna says, that was the main driver of the Mueller report.
Yeah.
That he was pushing. He was the head of the House Intelligence Committee in promoting the fact that the intelligence shows that Trump was colluding with the Russians. Schiff lied all along on it. We all know it. Every Democrat knows that Schiff lied.
Yeah.
And we called him out, I don't know, a long time ago. I can't remember when we did, but it was a long time ago because it was obvious that he was lying in that case. And remember the memo. Remember when you had the Republicans put out their report and then the Democrats put out their report. Republicans said there is no intelligence that shows collusion with Russia. Devin Nunes was right on that.
Yeah,
he was right. I'm sorry, he was the Democrat head of the House Intelligence Committee. Devin Nunes was the head of the House Intelligence Committee.
At that time, when those reports came out. Yeah, and then he became the chairman after they took control.
Subjective, arbitrary, and whimsical. Always Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you want, if you can't listen live overnight. Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Republican, introduced a resolution that would fine Representative Adam Schiff $16 million for his claims that former President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. Luna says the amount is about half the cost of the federal investigation into alleged Trump-Russia collusion, which was debunked by special counsel reports from both Robert Mueller and John Durham. The GOP conference agrees that, here's a quote, the GOP conference agrees that Adam Schiff has betrayed the trust of the American people, purposely abused positions of extreme authority, lied continuously, and as such must be held to account. Accordingly, the resolution requires Representative Schiff to pay a $16 million fine, half of the cost of that American taxpayers were forced to pay for the Russia hoax investigation, which apparently came to $32 million. Luna's resolution said, as chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Schiff had a position of extreme trust that gave him access to sensitive information not available to other members. But Schiff abused this trust by citing evidence of collusion that later special counsel reports showed did not exist. By repeatedly telling these falsehoods, Representative Schiff purposely deceived his committee, Congress, and the American people, the resolution said. It noted that Schiff lent credibility to the Steele dossier, supported a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant against Trump aide Carter Page, and publicly accused Page of being a Russian collaborator. Representative Schiff exploited his positions to encourage and excuse abusive intelligence investigations of Americans for political purposes. Representative Schiff used his position to access to sensitive information to instigate a fraudulently based investigation, which he then used to amass political gain and fundraising dollars. American taxpayers paid $32 million to fund the investigation into collusion that was launched as a result of Representative Schiff's lies, misrepresentations, and abuses of sensitive information. The resolution censures and condemns Schiff for conduct that misleads the American people in a way that is not befitting an elected member of the House, and declares Schiff is fined $16 million. It is the obligation of the House leadership to back up this motion for the American people and hold this feckless man accountable. Last week, Luna introduced a separate resolution to expel Schiff from Congress for abusing his position on the Intelligence Committee. Durham released a report last week that found significant FBI failures and no evidence the Trump campaign was coordinated with Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. Schiff spent years arguing there was evidence to the contrary. He said in 2017 that the evidence is not circumstantial. We have said this for the longest time. Now, I don't know I don't even know whether Congress has the ability to fine another member. I don't even know if that exists.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know where she got that. But the fact is, we said it if you've been a long time listening to the show, you know we said this. You know that when both sides, the House Intelligence Committee, under the majority with Devin Nunes, said the intelligence shows no collusion. There is no intelligence that shows collusion between Trump and Russia. Mm-hmm. Remember that? That was early on.
Yep.
And Adam Schiff, who was the head of the Democrats, the minority at that point of the House Intelligence Committee, said, yes, the evidence exists that the intelligence clearly shows that Trump colluded with the Russians. We said at that time, someone is lying. Yep. And then when Adam Schiff finally came out on The View, because they said, you keep promising that you have evidence that Trump colluded with the Russians. What is it? And he said, the Trump meeting in Trump Tower.
Right.
Which had nothing to do with Russia collusion at all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they didn't know. They were, of course, as ignorant as can be. They just, yeah. They never questioned him on it. And we said at that point, wow, he's been lying all along. And as a member of the House Intelligence Committee, and then remember, when Biden won, he became the head of the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah.
When they took over Congress.
Right.
He became the head of it. And he still perpetuated the lie. So he lied to the American people about the top secret intelligence and the analysis of our intelligence agencies that he knew wasn't there, and he lied anyway. How do you hold somebody accountable for that? Because you're not just talking about a person in Congress that is, screaming lies or whatever. You're talking about somebody who became the head of the House Intelligence Committee, the head of the House of Representatives, who is monitoring what the intelligence agencies are doing to make sure that they are responsible to the American people. And Adam Schiff lied about what the intelligence was on Trump continuously over and over again for years, knowing that what he was saying was a lie.
And it's, if you look at all that was spent on that, I would say Adam Schiff's entire party should pay up if that's the way it worked. I think introducing this is a good idea for the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's going to go anywhere because I don't believe McCarthy's going to move on it. I really don't believe that is going to happen.
No.
But if you have the conversation over and over again, and the Durham report was a reminder for those who already knew. It was a reminder inside of an entire package, or in the form of another package. And it's also a learning experience for a lot of people along the way that the media that many of them trusted to get it right got it wrong and were lying. Adam Schiff is a given. And it was pointed out over and over and over and over. He's a liar to the core. He's a wholly dishonest person. That was a key lie that we believe should disqualify him from ever being on such committees.
McCarthy was totally justifiable in kicking him off.
Yep.
And you know something? There wasn't as much backlash as you would expect from Democrats.
No, you're right.
Because they knew he was lying.
You're right.
They knew he was lying.
Well, I wonder if that's, remember, who was it? Was it John Kerry that was testifying one day and the media was on social media going, he needs to stop talking. I wonder if there was that effect, especially after his Adam Schiff going on The View and pointing to the Trump Tower meeting as his evidence, which was it was so weak. But he needed an exit ramp. Here's something I've never asked out loud, but I've wondered, why did he feel like he needed an exit ramp? He needed to finally answer that question. Once and for all, he needed to point to the evidence. Now, that wasn't evidence, but he needed to point to something. He needed to get out of it. And I wonder why he feels that. I wonder if there was pressure on Capitol Hill at the time for him to do that. I don't know. But ultimately, I think you're right. I think it stands to reason that the left, the media, all of them look at this saying, yeah, we're okay with him not being on those committees. He did this to himself.
Well, yeah, but he served his purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got the job done. Exactly.
He got the job done.
He's not useful. He's not going to be useful. And we're not going. Why fight that fight? We'll see what happens when he runs for the Senate seat. Wow. Yeah.
That's what qualifies you for the Senate in California. Mm-hmm. Lying as a member and the head, because he became the head of the House Intelligence Committee after Biden was elected and they won the House. He became the head of the House Intelligence Committee, and he was a pathological liar about what the intelligence said, and he continued with the lie as the head of the Intelligence Committee.
Right.
Lied over and over and over again. You notice that yesterday or even last week when he's been criticized, that nobody has come to his defense and said, well, wait a minute. He showed the collusion. It was the Trump Tower meeting.
Uh-huh.
You notice nobody's come to his defense to say that.
Yeah.
Has he even used that as his defense?
No. I mean, I haven't seen it.
Because the simple thing was, and it was, his point was when he said it to The View, was that's the evidence of collusion. Mm-hmm. Well, even if they were trying to do that, if that's all you have, even if that was about seeking to collude with the Russians, that was the intent of the lawyer, we know that Donald Trump Jr. was brought there, right? Was it?
Yeah,
it was brought there.
Right.
Under when he heard what that was about, he goes, "Goodbye, I'm out of here." Mm-hmm. And then he was willing to provide anything. He provided everything. He goes, "I'm not hiding everything. I'll voluntarily give everything about that meeting."
Here's the entire thread and the setup and everything else.
Here's what it was about. And so but it never led, even if it was, it never led to any collusion or any communication. That's the point.
Right.
Even if the only goal was to collude with the Russians, it never got there.
Right.
And so that's why it was such a weak. And Adam Schiff had to know that was going to fall apart on him someday. They don't care as political activists. They don't care. They don't believe there's any consequences to their actions. They don't. They really don't. And that's why he's running for Senate. People in California will gladly, the Democrats in California, they don't care if I lied about intelligence.
Right.
They don't care. They'll put me. They'll look at that as a badge of honor. They'll put me in because I lied to the American public about what the intelligence agencies actually had.
Mm-hmm.
That's a trophy in the Democratic circles.
Oh, yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, the IRS whistleblower actually speaks to CBS. We know who he is now.
Yeah.
By name, they're supposed to meet with the House on Friday. I know they're supposed to meet with the Senate, and the Senate, because it's controlled by Democrats, doesn't want Grassley to be part of the interview.
Right.
Now, the thing is, this is so... The thing that you've seen the polling on it. We told you the polling yesterday. Most people, the majority of people, believe Joe Biden made illegal money through influence peddling, and the same thing with Hunter Biden. That's the majority of Americans, and it's like 45% of Democrats do too. That's a problem. They know it's a problem, and I don't know how you defend. I don't know how you go. I don't know how you attack the whistleblowers. It'll be interesting to see if you're a member of the Senate.
Yeah.
This seems pretty cut and dry, and it's very cut and dry because we already know that Biden paid back $2 million that he attempted to evade through a friend's loan. We know that already.
Right.
Nobody is debating that. That's why this whole tax evasion thing is so simple.
Right. Yeah, I guess you start, if you're a Democrat, you start on the whole political motivation. And maybe you just stay there.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.